remarries. Once again, Ibrahim, peace be upon him, comes to visit. She doesn't know that's her father-in-law. Once again, Ismail is hunting. And so Ibrahim says to her, is your husband here? No, he's hunting. How are you all making it? We're fine. We're fine. How often do you eat meat? We eat meat, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. We're fine. Okay, well, when your husband returns, tell him I said to secure the gate through his threshold. And he left. Ismail returns, peace be upon him, and says, did somebody come? She said, yes, a nice old man. What did he say? He told me to tell you to secure the gate to your threshold. That was my father. He told me to keep you. What was the difference? The first situation was a type of woman who would be always complaining. She would always be reminding her husband what they don't have. We never have meat. You got to go work on a Kaaba again? God. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing, right? You know what I mean? You're going to hear it. You're going to hear from him. She's going to use her tongue to tear him down. She's going to use her tongue to remind him of what they don't have, right? Ibrahim knew that's not the type of woman that's good for my son. The second one, what was she? She was so positive. She was so positive. She was so grateful. We're all right. How often do you eat meat? Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. We cool. We cool. We all right? And that even when she described him, yes, a nice old man. A whole different type of setup. That's giving an insight as to the nature of a man. How a man ticks. How to capture the heart of a man. As we go through this process, the men have to do the same thing. They have to know how to deal with a woman, right? How you deal. For us, we come hard all the time. We come hard. And women don't respond to hard. You know what I'm saying? They turn off to it. You know what I'm saying? But that's how we come, right? And so we have to go through this process. We have to go through this process of growth and development to the point to where we're able to balance, like I said, the fact that we soldiers, but also the fact that we can be gentle too. The Prophet, peace be upon him, had all that down. The Prophet, peace be upon him, was strong. He was tight. He took care of business. He was out in the front line. When it was time to fight, he was out there on the front line. He was out in the battle. But when it came time to being home, what was it like? Aisha radiallahu anha said when he came in the house, he had a smile and he would greet his family with the salams. He would also help the wife with the housework. That's a big one right there. He would help his wife with the housework. That type of thing. The Prophet, peace be upon him, understood the nature of a woman. And so when Fatima and Ali, sometimes, they used to get into it sometimes. Fatima and Ali used to get into it sometimes. And so one time, Fatima came running to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and she would just run, Ali, 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 right? And the Prophet, peace be upon him, just listening. He's just listening. He's just listening. And Ali, he followed her to see what she was going to say. He's hiding. And so the Prophet, peace be upon him, he let Fatima just go. And after she finished, he said, Fatima, be patient with your husband. Be patient with your husband. That's a serious, serious advice. Because with a man, you have to be patient. Because we be tripping sometimes. We be tripping. We go through a lot of different stuff, man. We get, sometimes we get real complicated and stuff, right? So you have to be patient with us. Then Ali comes, right, and he breaks it down to the Prophet. She did this, she did that, she did this, she did that. The Prophet, listen. And then after he finished, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, Ali, be kind to Fatima. Be kind to her. That was the bottom line. He didn't give a whole list. He just said one thing. Fatima, be patient with your husband. Ali, be kind to Fatima. He was dealing with the nature. But he basically was saying, deal with each other based on each other's respective nature. Because of the frivolity, how frivolous relationships have become here in this country. Because again, sex is separated from marriage. So now there's no real study, if you will. Men and women don't really notice each other. All they're noticing is the physical, how they're looking and so on and so forth, and it's only that. And so the bottom line becomes, you know how it goes out there, the bottom line becomes, if you look a certain way, I want to get next to you, I don't want to be committed to you, I don't want to meet your father, definitely want to meet your father, I don't want to meet your mother, I don't want to meet your family. I'm here to hit and run. That's all I'm here to do. So he's taught to see himself as a player or as a playboy. She's taught to see herself as a playboy bunny. Right? And then what you have is a relationship that is corrupted from the get-go. So therefore, they don't understand about the nature of a man. They don't understand about the nature of a woman. They don't understand about those type of things. But as brother was saying, if you're thinking about marriage, you have to know yourself, know who you are, know what you're about. And at the same time, you also have to know about the nature of a man. The nature of a man. Some of you sisters were talking about hot bodies, hot bodies, hot bodies, hot bodies. That's real. But one of the things that happens too is that in this society, bachelors be all cut and buff until they get married. No, don't you notice that? As bachelors, they cut. They all buff. They just working out the whole nine. As soon as they get married, and all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying? Six-pack means something else. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You feel me? So it's like, because what happens is they're taught to focus on the relationships outside of marriage. That's when you cool. That's when you smooth. That's when you got game. That's when you bring it. That's when you buff. That's when you outside of marriage. And then when you get married, all of a sudden you got no more game. Come on, man. Where your game at? Meaning that, you know, back in the dunya, it's like, well, look here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You smooth with it. You cool with it. Right? And you know, because you throw the rap down, right? Then all of a sudden, again, you get married, and you don't know how to love your wife. You don't know how to, you don't know how to talk to her, nothing like that. You forgot how to do it because the emphasis is on you be at your best when you're a bachelor. You be at your best when you're just hunting for women. That's when you're at your best. And then when you get married, you lose all that stuff. See, that's what happens when you separate the sex from the marriage. And it's only about just simply conquest. So what happens is that, of course, and I'll come to a close on this, but what happens is that, you know what? What happens is that you lose something. The women, of course, are going to be abused. They're going to be psychologically and emotionally abused because they gave up their honor to this man who wasn't thinking about no long-term commitment. He didn't think about no long-term commitment, that type of thing. And they gave their honor to this man. He loses something too. You know what he loses? The only way you can live that kind of lifestyle is that you got to be cold. You got to be cold-blooded. You got to be cold. And once you're cold-hearted, that has an effect on you as well. See, one of the problems, we've seen this before too, when a man thinks he's a player, and it's all about getting next to as many women as possible, you know one of the things he loses, besides like his coldness and his like humanity, you know another thing he loses? He misses out on his soulmate. His soulmate. This one sister who's like, he just love her. He love her, right? Because like you got a soulmate, right? Because he's so busy playing. He's so busy going through all these women that, check this out, one of these women, at least one of them, was a good woman. She was a good woman, but he wasn't looking at that. All he was looking at was how good she was looking and conquering it physically. And once he did it, he was ready to go on to something else, but that may have been his soulmate. That may have been the woman who would have helped bring him happiness and peace in his life, but he didn't see it. He lost it. He lost it because he was in play mode. We've seen that over and over and over again. You become cold-hearted and you lose your soulmate. You lose the one who Allah sent for you, but you're in play mode. You're in play mode. That's one of the things that we have to be careful of. So as we go through this process, we say no. It's like all this stuff happens when we get married. Brothers get their bodies together when they get married. As you're a bachelor, all right, you can just trip all you want. But as soon as you get married, all right, you got the soldier now. You know, so you got to work out. You know, you got to. It's reversed. It's reversed. The flowers come after you get married, not before. You know what I'm saying? And see, that's one of the things that we have to really, really keep in mind as we go through this process. Men and women are different, right? They have a different way of you get to them in a different way. You know what I'm saying? And what you do is you learn it. Learn that. Learn what that is. But learn it in a positive way, right? Not in a frivolous way. Not in a way you're just playing. Learn it in a positive way. Because that's going to help, as Brother Amir